Welcome back, Warriors, to another episode of Find Something Worse Than Pit Fighter! Sorry about that. I'm basically reaching the end of my rope here, though, not gonna lie to you. But fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, I may have not actually reached the end of my rope. Or I truly have. It doesn't matter. What does is that I'm finally throwing the lanky, weird, and ick-inducing body of Dangerous Streets in our ring. And I have a feeling that Buzz, Kato, and Ty are going to be subtly averting their eyes so as not to have to look directly at this one. Released for the Amiga, the cultural black hole that was the Amiga CD32 and MS-DOS in 1993, this one went relatively unknown for most of its existence, until men, much more talented and braver than I, cracked open its sarcophagus, which unleashed its rancid odors onto us all. But the question is, will said stink lines melt away Pit Fighter's championship belt? Well, we won't know for sure until we get it in the ring! I've found over the years that the worse a button basher is, the less there is to the story behind its creation, as many of them just amount to, yeah, we made a trash game. And such is the case with Dangerous Streets. While Flare Software is the company most associated with this one due to their flashy logo, they were just the publisher and didn't have an active role in its direct development. But they were at the helm of two massive, heaving Elvira games, and published more CD32 trash that comes with all you see here. But I know them best as one of the co-publishers for the graphically impressive, but nonetheless still pretty odd Realm for the SNES. The actual developer of Dangerous Streets was Italy-based Micromania Software, hell of a name, whose only other credited work was 1992's Blue Boy, which, looks like that. And that's the history of Dangerous Streets, outside of maybe the fact that it was marketed as a kind of killer app, along with a few other CD32 games that were sold in a bundle. And I suppose one of its original developers, Tiziano Sardone, went on to work at Ubisoft on the likes of Beyond Good and Evil, and later the Mario plus Rabbids games, which, is at least something. But beyond that, Dangerous Streets has largely been relegated to the dustbin of history, having never seen a console port, thank the universe for that, but still manages to live on through the quote-unquote magic of internet finger pointing. So let's also start contributing to said finger pointing right now as I critique the... First of all, let me clue you all in on a little secret. Remember how Mr. Rolf covered these very dangerous streets in his CD32 shit show? Yeah, classic episode, but I wasn't about to spring for that giant piece of Amiga ass. No, I'm not dedicated as all that. Instead, for this video, I decided to opt for reviewing the much worse version of Dangerous Streets, which shockingly didn't come on a CD, but on floppy MS-DOS style discs. If your sense of disbelief is already reeling and confused by this revelation, well, give it some smelting salts, cause we're about to start slamming ourselves into this slippery slop hole. Upon booting, you'll of course have to consult the manual before you get the pleasure of seeing a single screen, because back in the day, the only way to combat the cardinal sin that is piracy was to task users with having to painstakingly hunt down a single word by going through every line until you find the magic one, which was usually something really weird like rigidness, hard nail, or Pennsylvania. Once you get past all that, the initial title and select screens are pretty much the same as the CD32, complete with incomprehensible voice clips.
Tony, McMuscles.
Now, as others have stated, one of the main issues with Dangerous Streets is that it just might have the worst fighting game roster known to mankind, which is something I don't say lightly. Remember, I've covered the likes of Human Killing Machine, Battle Blaze, and Fight Club, although there'll be no disrespect to my man Fred. Yeah! But nothing, I repeat, nothing can prepare you for this gross gaggle of goons. Sugiosa Capelli is a DJ who's also a practitioner of Shotokan Karate, but also ninjutsu, but he's dressed as the Flash for some reason. Terrible. Next up, there's Pinin, a slovenly truck driver that has a little monster that pilots him. Okay. Tony is a playboy who strongly believes in the darker side of life. Massive red flags there. Those bad vibes then continue with Umbra, who is, I don't know, an alchemy-based palmist from the Keystone State? Then we have Malkoash, the poorly aged Native American stereotype that no bad fighting game is without. Then we have Sexy Leather-Clad Lady A and Sexy Leather-Clad Lady B. And finally, very much bringing up the rear is Kyo, a German troll monk thing that wears spring shoes. Now, I know what you're gonna say. Wow, that sucks ass! And you're right, every single fighter is unpleasant to look at, but I guess a monkey's paw must be curling up somewhere, because if you wish you didn't have to look at this menagerie of miscreants, Microsonic was way ahead of you. Once a match starts, the MS-DOS decides to suck extra hard by slightly obscuring your view of the action. And when I say slightly, I mean like 25% of it. The CD32 version, if you can believe it, doesn't have these huge foreground elements, these massive signs, boxes, trash cans, gargoyles, and whole-ass NPCs that get in the way, which is impressive considering how obnoxiously big most of the playable sprites are. I've complained about this dumb design decision before with previous contenders, but it's absolutely never been this bad. Like, your entire fighter can easily be blocked. Like, why did they think this was a good idea? Well, I guess they eventually realized it wasn't, hence its removal in later versions. But damn, I sure hope everyone got fired for this blunder. Looking back at my footage here now, the only positive thing I can say about the graphics themselves is that they're colorful. It's not as bland looking as, say, Battle Blaze, but it almost has the opposite problem. It's so blinding, garish, and distracting, it's hard to concentrate on any one thing. If the artwork of the characters was bad, and it is, the in-game sprites are even worse. Everything is drawn in the most off-putting way possible. Proportions are all over the place, and every fighter seems to offer a special little detail that seeks to make you uncomfortable. I can confidently say, even in this very early juncture, that yes, this is the worst fighting game roster ever assembled. Human Killing Machine, Rise of the Robots, Balls, everyone has more aura than these clowns. As for the boss, there is no boss. And as for any unique endings, there are no unique endings. No matter which of these weird perverts you select, you get the same generic congratulations screen that then proceeds to shill Microsonic's next game, which coincidentally never came out. Very classy. I will say, as unnerving as this screen is, it is at least a tiny bit better than the plain game over screen you get once you've been unfortunate enough to clear Pit Fighter SNES. Sound and music is ear-piercing, as you can surmise. Both are just horrible, and I wouldn't wish either upon my worst enemies. Here's a sample. It should be noted, though, that the music and most of the sound effects that you hear in this version are much better on the CD32. So you're getting the cream of the crop here. Well, no, you're getting the sludge of the very bottom. The UI is similarly busy and confusing. The main part of your life bar is denoted by stars, which is a choice. I mean, this was 1993, not 1983. You could have just gone with a simple meter, yeah? I guess they were unconfident with that though, because they also felt the need to add portraits that get damaged in real time. The more beat up they get, the closer you are to getting KO'd. Funnily enough, the other versions have a third way to display your health, which is numerically. Brilliant, you idiots! This is, again, a slight improvement to Pit Fighter SNES, which just uses the numbers, if you needed reminding, but, that's still very faint praise. But you better get prepared for the faintest praise of all, once I start getting to the... So yeah, here we go. So Dangerous Streets has special moves, and I think that might be it. There's no throws, no dashes, no supers, no weapons, no combos, but what it does have is one of the most ass-backwards fighting systems I think I've ever seen. At first, you start moving around, you're like, okay, this is shit, but whatever, it's still kind of normal. Then you press a button or two and you're like, that's weird. And then once you've pressed all of the buttons, you'll be questioning reality itself. The fact is, Dangerous Streets has the stupidest button layout. It's neither book smart nor street smart. You have a special move button. Hold this down, your character will glow, and then you press something else, directions, I think, causing a special move to come out. Or in most cases, not come out, as it feels very Street Fighter 1-ish with how inconsistent it is. Then you have a crouching attack button. Let me say that again, a button whose only function is to do a crouching attack, because you can't crouch in this 2D fighter, and you can't technically jump either. That's because, once again, one of your buttons actually controls this, basically a movement button where it acts differently for everyone in the game. Pressing it will cause some characters to do a simple neutral jump or a crazy diagonal one or even a dodge, which also means you can't actually jump forward or backward, like in every other fighting game you can think of. But wait, there's more! Another button I left out, block. Cause yeah, I guess they thought this control scheme wasn't messed up enough, so instead of just holding back to block like in every other 2D fighter outside of MK, it's controlled here by a whole other button. Alright, so if you've been following this game's non-logical approach to everything, then this can't just be a simple blocking animation, can it? Oh no! Because every character gets this elaborate stance they go into, which takes a little bit, and they're all... well, look at them. Weird tentacle monsters, energy shields, literal blocks. I mean, at least it's on brand with all the other weird-ass stuff, but it makes playing the game that much more confusing. I mean, when you think about the control scheme, just look at this thing! What the hell is that? Okay, moving on. See these letters here? Yeah, give me your best guesses as to what they mean, because I have no idea. None of the manuals for any of the various versions explain what they do, and the game certainly doesn't, and I can't find a single guide online that mentions them either. Like what do I have to do here? Put it in H?
Put it in H!
In terms of modes, well, you're looking at them. There's versus against another player, CPU, or the arcade ladder. And, oh, by the way, for that last one, if you lose any match at any point, you get booted back to the title screen, so you get one shot to clear it. Now, admittedly, that's the same harsh rule as seen in Pit Fighter SNES, but that did at least have a code for unlimited continues, which this does not. As for an option screen, well, Dangerous Streets technically doesn't contain one because, as you see, everything is all crammed in on the main menu, but you can change the difficulty and music and stuff, so it's kind of a wash. Alright, so I'm not gonna mince words here. As basic and as stripped down as Pit Fighter SNES was, it at least made sense in how you played it. You could walk around quite normally, attack with the attack buttons, and throw the enemy if you so wished. Yeah, I mean, the hit detection is lousy and everything else feels really bad, but again, it was simple to play. But Dangerous Streets is incomprehensible. Every single button does something different, which of course is exacerbated even further by the... Remember when I said that the MS-DOS version is the most dangerous version of Dangerous Streets? Well, here's the other reason as to why. The CD32 port actually runs at a decent clip. Characters move around more or less at a respectable speed, but here in DOSland, everyone feels like they're wearing weighted clothing, underwater, with balls and chains around their legs. It's like Mega Sonic or Micron Mania or whatever they're called, made a game that was at first normal speed, took one look at it and said, whoa, let's slow it down, slow it way down, and programmed it to do such. Oh, and before you ask, it doesn't matter what type of computer you have or how you configured it, it's like this no matter what. Now, Pit Fighter is certainly no Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in terms of speed, but even it feels a tiny bit faster and more responsive than this. And since everything is over-animated here, much like Bashoujo, Senshi, Sailor Moon, Super S, Shinshu, Yakuso, Datsusen, it compounds the problem even more. In addition to that, the hit detection of every attack in Dangerous Streets seems almost non-existent. Sometimes things hit, sometimes they don't. Sometimes a special move causes a bit of damage, and other times it one-shots you. It's like a guessing game. This even extends to the sprites themselves, in that they just randomly go through each other, again, with no rhyme or reason. Worst of all, there's infinites for pretty much everyone, as the entire cast seems to have one magical attack which, if you spam in a specific rhythm, will stun lock them, allowing you to get easy wins. Problem with that is that the CPU seems to know this exploit as well, so you can easily get sucked in the vortex yourself. Oof. Looking back at everything, it's almost as if Dangerous Streets combines the worst aspects of several of our past contenders. No endings, horrible roster, zero mechanics, the slowest gameplay possible, awful sound and music, no modes, infinites, and technically no option screen either. It's kind of impressive in a way. No, it's not, actually. But Warriors, it seems like we have a very down-to-the-wire fight here between the sex pests of Dangerous Streets and the sweat lords of Pit Fighter, so it's about time for us to see where they both stack up. There's a lot of give and take here, with both our fighters going blow for blow. Dangerous Streets' roster is more annoying and disturbing than Pit Fighter, while Pit Fighter has only one music track that never stops. Dangerous Streets actually feels worse to play, but in terms of overall graphical prowess, it looks better than Pit Fighter, like by a lot. I think though, for me, there was just something deeply disturbing about Dangerous Streets. It bills itself as some sort of straightforward contest between badasses, but all of them seem to have sprung from the mind of a madman who clearly wasn't interested in making a cool fighting game. Like, I genuinely hate all these characters. Now, if that was the end of all the, bad stuff, I could let this one into the dregs tier. pretty easily, but as stated before, it's such a mess to actually play due to that control scheme and the game feel. I mean, I've played over 3 hours of this. Maybe it makes more sense on the CD32 gamepad, but ain't no way I'm soiling my mitts with that thing. But even if that were the case and the CD32 actually played a good deal better, the MS-DOS version would still be the more prominent and available one back in the day. So for the majority of PC gamers, circa 1993 at least, this would be the standard. I can't believe I just said that. Sure, there's way more characters and I guess technically content in Dangerous Streets, but when all those characters and all that content are this uncool, this lame, and give off such creepy vibes, the quantity really doesn't matter. Ooh, so where does that leave us? Well, after weighing all the pros and cons, no, just the cons really, I think Ty, Kato, and Buzz's life bar, or the tiny number readouts, have finally reached 0. I present to you the new worst fighting game champion, Dangerous Streets. Boo, 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 boo. Oh god, okay. I don't even want to look at these weirdos anymore, and I honestly don't know how long this next reign is going to be, but god, I sure hope it's a short one. And with that, we've also reached the end of another tumultuous tournament and have crowned a new, very creepy champion. But if you'd like to nominate what you think could take down the likes of Tony and the Spring Monster, let me know in the comments below or over in the fighting temples of my social media. Until then, I will see you next time on the worst fighting game.